much we need to wake up to. Initially, I think it's critical that we wake up to our need for God, recognizing that I need God to do for me what I cannot do for myself, because as hard as I try, I'm not living into my greatest potential. I'm not living into my highest, truest self. And so waking up to that is the beginning. And in time, we wake up to how disconnected we are living, as if we're really disconnected. We're living under an illusion of separateness that is causing so many of the divisions and the strifes and the hardships that we create in life. And so waking up to the fact that we actually are more connected than we realize, that we come from the same source, that we are actually one. And to live from a place of oneness changes everything. To live from a place of oneness helps me love my neighbor as myself, because my neighbor is me and I am my neighbor. And how can we be true to the fact that we're all connected and we're all a part of one another? Waking up to our oneness changes everything with the way we relate to the natural world. That it's not an objectified reality over which I must exercise some kind of power and control, but all of life is meant to be in harmony with one another, serving one another for our greatest good, for an abundant kind of life. And we see that in science, in the study of various species and plants and animals, and the way in which the natural world works in concert with one another for the higher good. Somehow, as humans, we've been cut off from that natural order, but waking up to our connection and our oneness allows us to be in greater service of that harmonious concert that we're a part of.
What is love?
Love is the heartbeat of life. Love is the energy that creates new life. Love is what heals and what restores and what reconciles and what dreams and what creates new life. Love. God is love. Love is God.
How does contemplative spirituality wake us up to love? I think the problem with a lot of us is that we are so disconnected from love. We don't know that we're loved, and we struggle to see what's lovable in others. Through contemplative prayer, there is an experience of love at the root of our being, at the ground of our being, that we are able to open to it. There's no other way to say it, really. It's a coming to know. It's an awareness. It's like the veils being lifted from our eyes, realizing that we are born of love. We come from love. We are loved, not in a way of knowing with the mind as a belief system might want to tell us, but it's a knowing in our bones, in our blood, in our lived experience of being loved, and beyond that, being the source of love, because we are in God and God is in us, and this is what we come to know through contemplative prayer. It changes the whole way in which we move through life when we are rooted and grounded in love from which we've been born, rather than an existence that is fundamentally afraid and anxious and questioning whether or not we'll be accepted by some God that's out there that we're trying to get to. Contemplative prayer reorients that whole perspective to find ourselves really in God. Scriptures say, in God I live and move and have my being. this is what we come to know through contemplative prayer.
What gives you hope that we can wake up and begin to give birth to God and through us?
What comes to mind is honestly the harried, frenzied, overactive life that many of us are living today in the 21st century. This actually gives me hope, because I think in some ways, more than in any other time, more of us are coming to terms with how much in need we really are, because life is so out of control. Life is overwhelming. There's too much activity. There's not enough downtime. We're all kind of burning ourselves out with our lifestyles, and I think this is actually a source of hope, because it's causing people to wake up perhaps sooner and earlier. And so what I see is that there really is an evolution of human consciousness, perhaps at a rate that we've not seen before, moving very rapidly, very fast. I think the digital world and the internet connecting us to one another and all of life around the planet is helping us even to wake up to this possibility that we actually really are connected beyond the internet, that there is a fundamental connection in reality that we're realizing perhaps at a younger age. So I know that there are a lot of people of faith out there who are wanting more, who are struggling to continue to grow, and they're feeling stuck and limited in spaces, in aspects of life that are restricting them or cramping their style in a way. I mean, cramping their ability to really grow and thrive. And contemplative spirituality really offers a way to kind of break out of the boundaries that have confined us and are stifling our continued growth, and move us into deep waters that teach us how to swim really in the loving reality of God. What contemplative prayer does is it opens our eyes to be able to see more clearly what is true and what is false. Contemplative spirituality moves us through practice into a greater identification with our true self, Christ living in us, so that we can really co-create with Christ in the world.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. What was the second part of that question?
No, I was like, what gets excavated? What is the...
So through contemplative prayer, there is an excavation that happens that's really about cleaning up my illusions of self, others, and God, and making room within for the presence of God, who's already there, but we're having trouble really identifying with God's presence. We're having trouble moving with God's presence because there are these illusions, these lies, these programs for happiness around that are where we're over-attached really to a desire to be in control and to have security and to be loved or approved of. And that kind of attachment, those kinds of unconscious motivations are really kind of clogging up the human person. They're getting in the way of the divine presence, the divine nature that's already there, but is just not being tended to. So through contemplative prayer, there's an excavation of all that is in the way of really living in that divine nature, so that we can then move and live and have our being in God who's got us.
Do you think God's got us?
I do. That's where my hope rests.
How? Why? How did you get to that place?
It's too exhausting to live any other way. It's too anxious-ridden to live any other way. Fundamentally, life has taught me and is teaching me to trust that God's got me and God's got us.